Our lesson 5-5, solving polynomial equations. So by the time we're done with this lesson, we should be able to solve by graphing, factor, and then solve by factoring. So for solving by graphing, we're going to review how we used to solve by graphing, and then I'm also going to show you another method that you can use. And we're going to start with the new method. So when we are solving by graphing, we can find the intersections of two equations. So we just enter the left side of our equation into y1, the right side into y2, and then if you need to, you can adjust your window. And then we're going to find all the intersection points, and we only care about the x values. Okay. Now the other way that we had done it was to find the zeros. So to use that method, everything needs to be on the same side of the equation, and then you find where it's crossing the x-axis. So if you take a look at our first example, this would be a good one to use method 1. So I'm going to do this by finding the intersections. And again, when we are done, we only care about the x values. Okay. So we're going to enter in this equation into y1, and then the x plus 3 into y2. Okay. And if you mix up that order, that part doesn't matter. Okay. So we're going to grab our graphing calculator. So in the y equals, we're going to clear what's there. Again, I'm going to type x cubed plus 3x squared into the first equation. And then in y2, it is x plus 3. And then I'm going to graph in a standard window, so zoom 6 to start. And then we need to find all of the intersections. So notice how there are 3 intersections. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So to figure out what those intersections are, we're going to go to the calc menu. So we're going to press the second key and then trace. And then we're going to select the 5th option that says intersect. Okay. So notice down here it's asking for the first curve. And you can see the cursor flashing on the screen here. So I'm going to adjust my cursor, so I'm going to move it. So I'm arrowing to the left right now. So let me zoom out here. Okay, so I'm just arrowing to the left, and that's moving my cursor. If you arrow up and down, it'll make your cursor, it's a little hard to see right there, it'll make your cursor jump between the equations. And it doesn't matter which one you're on for the first curve. What does matter is that we just want to be as close as possible to that intersection point. So somewhere in that area. Okay, so notice how my cursor is on y2 right now. So I'm going to press enter. And then for the second curve, it automatically changes which equation it's on. And then I'm going to press enter again, and then enter one more time when it says guess. Okay. So our first answer is going to be -3. And again, we don't care about the y value. Okay. So I'm going to do that process again to find this intersection. So we're going to press second, trace to go back to the calc menu, and then we're going to go down to the 5th option, and we're going to move the cursor to the next intersection, so somewhere in this area. Okay, so I'm going to press enter 3 times, so 1, and then it changes the equation, and then if I press enter again, that's the yes. Enter one more time will give us the answer. So our second answer is going to be -1, and again, we do not care what the y value is for these. And then one more time, so second trace, select the 5th option that says intersect, move our cursor to that 3rd intersection point, so somewhere in this area, and then we're going to press enter 3 times. So enter, enter, enter. And our final answer is a +1. Okay, so again, I just wrote down the answers as we found them. So these are the solutions, so the x values of that equation. Now remember, the old method we were finding the zeros. So to do that, everything has to be on the same side of the equation. So if we're going to use our second method for this one, we would start by getting everything on the same side, equal to 0. So I'm using the zeros method. And then we're just going to type this whole thing into the y1 equation. So back to the calculator. So back to y equals. I'm going to clear the equations that are there. And then in y1, we're going to type in x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3. And then graph, since I already know that I'm in a standard window. All right, so looking at this, we only have 1, 0 to find. So to figure that out, we're going to go to our calc menu, so second trace. This time we are finding a 0, so I'm going to arrow down to the second option. And this is the one that asks you for the left and right bound. So for our left bound, I need to be on the left side of what we're trying to find. So that means I'm going to be starting below the axis, and then enter. And then we're going to go above the axis for the right bound, enter, and then enter when it says guess. Okay, so this time we have one answer of -1. Okay, so we only have one real solution to this problem.